Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of VCTV. I'm your host, Kyle Ellicott, and we are going to be speaking about energy and sustainability here today on VCTV. This is a topic we continually speak about almost every week because it is so important. Last year in 2020, we saw this particular topic, both energy and sustainability, take the venture world by storm. We saw new funds being raised, more companies being created, more companies being invested in around the entire value chain, a key word, around sustainability. And energy, specific alternative and renewable energies, were also headlines for many investors and some of the deals, mega deals, I should say, that we saw during 2021, or excuse me, 2020. What does that all mean for 2021? Well, that's what we're going to be talking about today as we've brought together the best and the brightest from around the world to share with you their thoughts and insights, along with on the ground perspective of today's topic. Again, energy and sustainability. But we do this every day, all day, bringing those together to talk not just about those two, but also other technologies, industries, and regions around the world. And if you'd like to be on a show like today's to share your thoughts and insights, or as an entrepreneur to join us on the virtual stage to pitch us your company, product, or service, get real-time feedback and exposure to the entire VCTV family, do reach out and we'd love to find the right spot for you. But if you're loving what you hear today, make sure you click subscribe, share, and check out the archive to hear more from each of our speakers and on today's topic as well. And a big thank you to the LATOKEN team and to Maria for making VCTV possible every single day and bringing us all together as well. With that, I'm your host, Kyle, and I want to introduce our guests today, as again, they are experts in these areas and have a lot to share as we're going to dive in here in just a moment. But first, Luis, welcome back to the show. It's a pleasure to have you. A little intro and a little background.
Thank you, Kyle. It's an honor being here with you again with all this this team of panelists, everyone so very qualified to be here. So it's an honor to be even considered to be among these guys. I've been working with the renewable energy over the last 12 years, 13 years. I started working with big utilities and also a startup in the wind energy when I was still living in Brazil. Then I moved here and I launched first my advisory firm where I was still working with renewable projects, advising financial transactions, corporate transactions, and so a lot of all scales. This was an amazing experience, and most recently, together with some partners, we launched Kea Partners, that is a venture capital fund dedicated to energy tech. So we're going to be investing on all kinds of technologies that may allow and address some issues for the energy transition. So we're very excited. We're right in the middle of fundraising, already talking to some entrepreneurs because we know that energy transition it's going to be a huge thing over the coming years. So this is what topic that I love, that I know a little bit, one thing or other, but I love to talk, learn, and share what I know.
Wow, congratulations, Luis, on the launch of the new company. When it comes to the companies you're going to be working with or investments you're going to be making, is there any specific ticket size or investment area you're looking at, or in terms of seed or series or big, small?
We're talking about seed and Series A, somewhere where our ticket is going to be somewhere 800K and $4 million. Why this huge range? Because we're going to also be investing in companies in Brazil, because in Brazil we have a lot of good entrepreneurs, specifically in the energy tech space. So due to the exchange rate, the ticket is lower because we may we're able to make huge transactions with less money in US dollars. The specific technology, it's all kind of technology that may help us address the energy transition. So we have a lot of topics, a lot of verticals that we're looking into. So smart grid, energy efficiency, storage, intermittency of renewables, that is a big issue, a big technical issue for the energy grid. So everything that may allow the increase of the renewable energy install capacity, we'll be looking into.
Wow. Congratulations again, Luis. This is very exciting. To our audience, this is brand new, breaking news. Whether it is or not, I'm calling it. It's breaking news here on VCTV. We got the exclusive. Check out Luis and his new fund if you're building in this space. But we've got more investors who are doing other great things as well. So we're going to continue on. Keith, welcome back to the show as well. I know you've got a new company, a new fund that has been launched as well. So a little intro, a little background for everybody.
Hey, that's great. Thanks, Kyle. Long time no see. But yeah, fantastic. So I've been a clean tech and sustainability investor for more than 2 decades now. Before that, I was an entrepreneur in the 1990s, but started in VC with Mitsubishi Corporation, and then became president of BASF Venture Capital America, opening up their office in Silicon Valley, and then 10 years as general partner of Pangea Ventures, raising and running funds 3 and 4. In 2020, I broke off on my own, and I formed a new firm called Upper Stage Ventures. And it's applying the venture toolkit into a very early private equity stage. We're acquiring companies earlier than most private equity firms like to get involved, but it is a very, there's a lot of companies that are very underserved by venture and yet not interesting for private equity until we can scale them up. So there's this great underserved sort of trough in the financing ecosystem. In addition to that, I am the chairman of the Foresight Clean Tech Accelerator Center, Canada's largest clean tech accelerator, over 500 client companies through our programs right now. And working with them, I have developed, and we are close to launching a couple of funds around a data-derived investment thesis that I have developed, identifying a pattern for how to actually make money in sustainability investing.
Wonderful, and welcome back to the show as well. And Swati, welcome to the show as well. First time guest with Maria and I here on VCTV. Absolute pleasure to have you. A little intro and a little background. For the
yes,
audience.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me. A big hello to your audience. I am the CEO and co-founder of PropelX, PROPELX. That's an investment platform for investing in deep technology startups. So we source companies, curate them, put them on the platform. Lots of people can invest. So if that's of interest, people should join PropelX. I also manage a fund. It's called the Newton Fund. And as the name suggests, that also invests in deep technology companies. So we define deep tech as companies that are founded on breakthrough science or engineering. Typically, our companies come from the various research institutions, top universities, angel groups, national science foundations, and so on. And clean tech is one big portion of that. We also do other sectors, so life sciences, communications, computing infrastructure, but clean tech, which includes transportation, that is a big sector for us. And same for Newton Fund. So Newton Fund invests in companies that appear on PropelX. And so that is our sector. Aside from this, my background is I also am the founder of the MIT Angels Group here in Northern California, which now has multiple chapters. And been an investor prior to that. So that's me.
Wow. Busy plate. That's a lot of different things you're working on. So since it is your first time on the show and this is all new information for our audience, when it comes to either the Newton Fund or PropelX, again, similar question as I asked Luis, is there a certain size of company that you look at, seed stage and then ticket size as well? If you're okay to share that, but just so that the audience knows a little bit more about you and the funds.
Oh, yes, absolutely. So on PropelX, we started in the seed stage, but as more people join, there's more liquidity. So now our sweet spot is Series A and Series B, and we're moving very rapidly towards Series Bs. We've already done a few Series Bs. The average, and so we've done, we've put together syndicates and direct investments as large as, 1.8 to million. But the average across deals is about $400,000. That's on the Propel X side. Newton Fund makes smaller checks. 100Ks are typical. Again, we invest opportunistically. So we started as a seed stage fund, but opportunistically, we've also picked up really good Series A and, believe it or not, even Series B companies at really good valuations. So
I love it. I love it. All right, audience, you've got now 3 for 3. Here comes number 4. Great investors for you to talk to if you're building in this space: deep tech, sustainability, or clean tech as well, and even energy. Luis and his new company. So Efron, last but not least, welcome back to the show. I know you've got a ton of things to share as well for the audience, so I'll let you take it on as well.
Thank you, Kyle. Glad to be back and honored to be with the rest of the panelists, and thanks for the audience to tune in. My name is Irfan. I'm the managing director of Irfan Holdings. Irfan Holdings is a private company. I sit on a number of funds board. I'm active in deep tech as well as emerging tech for some time. Energy is a very near and dear area for me. And I think this is also a very interesting time that we are having this discussion. I believe we are having this discussion for the first time this year. That includes me. So there's some interesting new things that we're going to see this decade, and which is what I'm anticipating. America going back to the Paris Agreement, which is going to be a big push. 2 is that there are some very new interesting companies that's been coming out of the rabbit hole. One of them is eZinc. It's a Canadian company. I don't know if you heard or saw the recent announcement. Large investment firm, Energy Foundry, it's a Chicago-based investment firm, has invested in this company, which is coming up with a different model. So again, this is a near and dear area for me. I personally believe that, in order for certain sustainability in the energy sector to happen, we need to go very deep into the science, and we have to look outside the box. And, obviously there are areas that I have been looking into personally, and I'll be able to share. I'm personally, an angel investor in the early stage for these companies, and taking them off to the stage so that my funds can participate in them in the coming years. So that's it. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Thank you, Efron. And special guest joining us here in just a moment ago, Tolga, welcome back to the show. A little intro, a little background for everybody. Again, today's topic is all around energy and sustainability. You and the Loop team focus heavily in both of these, but I'll let you take the intro on from here.
Thank you. Okay, my microphone is on. Thank you, Kia. And my background is good, right? Is this?
Yeah, okay, looks perfect.
Just wanted to make sure. Thank you, Kyle, once again, and it's great to be connected to all of you. My background, I started as a designer developer. I worked for companies like Electronic Arts, Spin Master, before starting my own company, which was called Thunderbolt. I worked on digital technologies and startups heavily in the past 10 years, and my company incubated 12 different companies, raised $8.5 million for 2 different ventures, and eventually I sold my company to an investment company based in Canada, and I was the CEO of that investment company in 2019 until that company became a publicly traded company. And after the public event, I took a year off, and the pandemic happened until I realized that there's a massive shift into electric vehicles and EV charging, and that's where I met our CEO, Loop's current CEO, and we really agreed on everything, and I joined the team at Loop, and right now I'm the VP of Product and Marketing Operations. I'm helping the team with the global expansion of our EV chargers. Right now, Loop is the fastest growing electric vehicle charging network in the United States. And if you would like to know more about it, you can always ask me, and I'm always here to answer questions.
Wonderful. Well, thank you all for joining today. And let's just jump right in. The current state, what are we seeing? Efron, I'm going to have you kick us off. You kind of teed this up already. You know, when it comes to energy and sustainability, as investors, what are we seeing in the market right now as, you know, new trends, new opportunities, things that are moving and shifting as we come out of 2020, looking here into 2021? And I'll leave it there as the current state. So Efron, I'll have you take it away.
Thanks, Kyle, and thanks for handing me the torch. So that said, you know, of course, you know, I see this decade it's going to, you know, heat up, you know, discussion, innovation, as well as changes that's going to happen in this sector very fast and very rapidly. People coming off, you know, what happened you know, last year, you know, and of course, you know, the most important thing is that population is growing, people, you know, industries are growing, businesses are growing. We're more and more at risk in a lot of cases, and especially when it comes to sustainability, when it comes to clean air, clean energy, right? And this is going to be the hot topic, because if you're not dealing with this right now, we're looking for another disastrous scenario. In certain countries, in certain parts of the world, in certain cities, it's going to be really it's going to be some dire consequences that could happen. And I hope, knock on wood, that doesn't happen. But that said, as I, you know, innovation, and I think, you know, I'm going to take a short recap into, again, you know, the last decade, right? The early last decade, which is 2008, 10, you know, when innovation within the energy storage got kicked off, right? Some of the major venture arms started investing in that space, which led to what we have today, the electric cars, etc., right? So A123 battery technologies were heavily supported by Sequoia back then, which led to, of course, you know, some of the battery innovation that's being used in Tesla cars today. So in my particular area of interest, you know, as I have always remained very close to the field of research, science would be a major factor, a determinant factor of moving us to a more sustainable, dependable, clean energy. I'm personally vested in, you know, a lot of people may not like it, but I believe in nuclear technology, right? I mean, nuclear has the potential, it has the bandwidth to support the energy hungry industry that we have, or the world, but also, you know, it has potential to remain in a lot of factor clean. However, you know, there are a lot of red tapes, and I do see that opening up sooner than later, because, you know, for a long time, this particular industry has been kind of like shrouded with, you know, government red tapes, etc., for a lot of innovators to not be able to participate, even though, and also know how to charter. But in the coming years, I do see that, you know, changing. Similarly, as I mentioned about this company, you know, energy storage in which is a major sector, right? Utilizing different or other chemical processes, you know, apart from, you know, us being dependent on lithium itself, which we know, you know, has certain aspects of it which may not really play with the narrative that we want to build in the coming years, right? So whether we want, you know, whether when we are talking about nickel itself, this particular, or cobalt, essentially, you know, being brought from certain governments, you know, one country particularly, you know, provides the massive chunk of that. So it's going to change, and people and their perception. People are more, the new era, the new consumers are more and more aware about, you know, what is sustainable, what's not. You know, this is going to play a big part, because, you know, they're going to be more and more conscious about it, because people are more well informed, as they will be making a lot of decisions on their products that they choose. Thanks. Back to you.
Yeah, no, this is perfect. And Swati, I'm going to come to you next on this. I saw you shaking your head left, up, down, left, right on that, on those points that everyone was making. But anything to add on to his statement, but then also afterwards, your view and current state of what you're seeing in the industry. Oh, great points. But right now, it's all, you know, yeah, there you go.
There we go. Apologies. But yes, absolutely. So I do agree with Irfan, and we need alternatives to lithium ion. I'm a big proponent for that. But starting a little bit, taking a step back, I do think this is going to be this decade of sustainability across the board, not just because the government is going to be supporting that. We've already rejoining the Paris Agreement, among other things. But the important thing was, you saw the Keystone Pipeline is also going to be stopped now, right? So what does this mean? And it means that there is this huge push for renewables. And all the supporting technology, the infrastructure that goes into building up renewables, that is really going to benefit from this push, which includes, grid scale storage. And so, yes, I agree with you, Irfan, lithium ion is not the solution for that, whatever Elon Musk may say, right? There are cheaper, better, safer battery technologies. Flow batteries are one. Distributed systems. So there's going to be smaller generations, and that's again where you need to have storage. Energy management systems, all these technologies that go into supporting renewables, that is going to come to the fore. But there's also going to be this whole idea of sustainability across the board, and that's just not just in energy production and generation distribution, but it also goes into water, into food, into transportation. In transportation, we're seeing the emergence of EVs, and I'm eager to hear what Tolga has to say on that, and among others. Water, very important resource, and the scarcity is becoming apparent now, and the importance of having clean water. So better systems to clean water. Food. So it becomes apparent that when dirt goes into our ecosystems, it comes back as cancer, really. Into our environment, when we dirty our environment, whether it was fertilizer, pesticides, what have you, we do need to have more sustainable stuff. Transportation, we've already discussed. So it's really going to be sustainability across the board. We do delve into the science as well. So very much like Irfan, and I suspect very much like Keith and Kyle and the others as well on this panel. So we understand the science and we invest based on that.
Thank you very much. And before we get to Tolga, I do want to come to Keith. Keith, I know you also focus around energy storage, and sustainability. Luis and Tolga, I'm coming to both of you next. So get ready, as I think we found our topic to focus on. But before we go too deep in there, Keith, anything to add, and then also your current view? And thank you, Swati, as well.
No, yes, in yesterday's show, I talked about this investment thesis about how, in order to make money with clean tech or sustainability, you have to get into a service business model. The business model of supplying equipment or just selling materials, or even worse, just selling electrons, you cannot have any control over your pricing, and therefore you have no control over your margins, and you're forever stuck at the beginning of the value chain. What I love about energy storage is that it lends itself so well to a service business model, where you actually can capture a large portion of the value realized by your customers. This means that you're no longer stuck at the beginning of the value chain. You are along for the ride with your partners, and you can actually make decent margins and recurring revenue. And so I love that a lot. I've got an investment in that space, a company called ESS out of Portland, Oregon. They do what their name suggests, energy storage systems. Great, safe chemistry, and really solve a problem that allows for renewable, intermittent energy sources to become mainstream grid suppliers of electrons.
Thank you very much, Keith. Luis, anything to add on to that as well?
I believe that Swati touched some very, very specific points that in my opinion, they are very important. Because on one side we have our economy getting more and more electrified, so electric vehicles, a lot of gadgets and so on. On the other hand, we don't want our install capacity, our generation install capacity to be built on coal, gas, and other let's say dirty sources. We want to use renewable energy, but renewable energy, as mentioned by Keith, they have the intermittency issue, and we have to address that. So in our fund, we have a view that there's a gap in between. And also, I was reading an article because all of our grid, and considering the global, energy grid, was built on, was built considering a fossil fuel generation base. So, and the fossil fuel and the thermal, they are dispatchable. You can control when you're generating, when you're sending electrons. It's way easier for you to manage this when you're talking about solar, wind, tidal, and all the sources that they generate. As we have sun, we have wind, and whatever. There's the system, the transmission lines, all the systems that supporting the transmission lines. They suffer a lot with the shock of you being generating a lot of energy, and at noon you're generating a lot of solar, and you just have a cloud going over your solar farm, and then you go from 100 to 0, and the system suffers a lot with that, those shocks, because the system was not conceived for those shocks. As we're talking about thermals, dispatchable energy sources. So we see the gap here, and this is very, very technical. We're having already some conversations with some entrepreneurs, and the solutions, they are highly technical, because you have to address this kind of issues, this kind of intermittency issues, but also moving from the big issues to some small ways to address those. As Swati, for example, mentioned, we believe that as we're demanding more energy, the way of meeting this demand is not by building huge wind plants, solar plants, but using the distributed generation. Using our rooftop, using our space in a wiser way, thinking of energy. So, and one other solution is efficiency. Because as we're moving towards a more energy intensive society, we have to use energy in a more efficient way, avoid losses, know how to use our AC. So there's a gap here between, it's just in between the our growing need for energy and our growing need to step away from dirt sources of energy. So and we have to manage this, and our fund, that we're willing to use this space to find solutions so we can grow renewable energy in our global matrix, allow our economy to electrify and moving away from fossil fuels.
And speaking of moving away from fossil fuels, thank you, Luis. You teed this up perfectly. Tolga, I'm opening the floor for you on this one as well. Your thoughts, anything to add on to Luis and everyone else's points before we get into the next question?
I mean, I agree with Luis, and also I agree with Keith too. Service-based businesses are gonna have so much value in the future because of the potential of where this energy storage mentality is moving to. Because before this electric revolution, energy was supposed to be stored in places, in physical places, like gas stations or big refineries. But right now the energy can be condensed and stored in so many like locations, remote locations, or it just changes the whole perspective of how we can store energy. So that's a whole different subject that I can actually talk about. But it also, like, in terms of what we are doing, like electric vehicle charging, I think I also agree with, service-based businesses are gonna definitely profit from what's gonna happen. But at the same time, if you have both a product and service-based model, I think that can be a big winner as well. For instance, like we are selling electric vehicle charging, DC chargers and level 2 chargers and thousands of them. And right now, like we are in that phase that, you know, literally we are catching up with trying to catch up with the demand, because they're also like, aside from, you know, how we can profit from the service-based business model, we're also making like huge gains with the state rebate programs and what the states are offering in terms of like incentives and everything. So there's a massive opportunity, and this is going to continue for maybe several years or maybe a decade, that these incentives and rebate programs are going to be billions of dollars, literally so much money that I think the first comers into the market, the companies like Loop, who are you know, expanding rapidly and really putting a brand out there, I think they're going to be extremely valuable, and also like capturing. Right now, I mean, so far in the past maybe 10 years, electric vehicle charging was actually almost like a marketing thing for commercial companies or real estate companies, because, you know, everybody's trying to attract customers, and, you know, let's put a couple chargers, you know, into the parking lot. You know, it's just, that's going to be, but now it's going to change. It's going to be like, right now, let's put chargers everywhere, because the demand is going to be there. Cars are going to be sold like electric right now more than the gas cars. The acceleration is insane. So we're definitely moving from that, you know, oh, you know, EV charging is like a side thing. You know, we're moving from that phase into, let's make this whole electrical grid in our cities compatible with EVs, and that comes with like the storage opportunities as well. That comes with, you know, other opportunities that are revolving around electric vehicles and EV charging. So there's going to be like massive shifts and changes, and I'm very excited to be a part of this revolution. But like I said, governmental incentives and rebates programs are huge, and I think we are, as Loop, we are following these. Pretty much, we are playing the game in the best way possible, and we're expanding rapidly. So yeah, I would love to talk about that also.
Yeah, well, one thing that it seems common across everybody right now is distributed systems. That taking advantage of the systems we have in place, those that we will be putting in place and leveraging them for, you know, distributed sources looks like it's going to be a huge trend or opportunity in the coming future. And also, one thing I do want to mention real quick, and Luis, I see you, and I'll let you comment on that in just a second. Swati mentioned something that we've been talking about a few times, and it actually came up yesterday on the call, and I'm shocked that Gary is not joining us today, but water and the importance of water, and thinking about the future of water and how that will play a role as a commodity in our future as well. So we're going to come back to that and other opportunities. But before we do, Luis, go ahead and continue your points there.
Just one quick comment. You know, it's the end of last year I went to Orlando with my family, and we stayed at the Legoland Hotel. And at the Legoland Hotel, there's a small portion of the parking lot that is covered with solar panels. Mm-hmm. And when I saw that, I saw, you know, this is something that is like, it's a low-hanging fruit. You know, you have a parking lot, you can you know, at the same time offer, you know, like a kind of a cover. So you're offering a covered parking lot, and you're generating energy. So it's a, you know, it's a win-win. You know, mm-hmm. This is when we're talking about distributed generation, and you know, how we have to look at our space with, you know, in a wiser way, energy-wise. It's this is, you know, it was an easy solution. So our cars, they were protected by the sun, you know, from the sun, with solar panels. So you're giving protection and generating electricity. So I believe, and I really want to, you know, provoke the society to think this way, you know. So it's not easy. Okay, at the first moment, there is an investment and there is some hurdles there, a construction, but after you have that ready, your customers, they're more happy because of the covered parking lot, and you're happier as well because you're generating energy. So again, this is just one thing that came to my mind, and it was amazing seeing that.
Well, and I'll just support you on that. Everything is an investment. When you build a network, when you build an infrastructure for your company, there is an investment that you have to put forth. And when it comes to energy, and I think it's common throughout everyone's statements here, is it's a new mindset going forward, right? When we look at it from a bigger infrastructure, it's not just about us, it's about everything. It's about our businesses, it's about ourselves, it's about where we live, where we want to be, it's about everything, which is just a different mindset than we're typically used to. I've also seen, and forgive me for not knowing the exact location, but I've also seen a number of, excuse me, waterways in transforming markets that have started to cover themselves with solar panels, to that exact point as well, Luis, leveraging that open real estate and putting in solar panels on top of that to generate energy. And Keith, anything to add on that?
Well, that also saves from evaporation, which is a key water loss. You'd be shocked at how much water is lost to evaporation. So that solves multiple problems.
Yeah, and Keith, keep the mic open. I'm coming to you next around opportunities. So we've talked now a little bit about solar. I mentioned water was something that was brought up. We've got a number of other areas that people want to talk about around opportunities, but looking ahead for 2021 and even maybe into 2022, what do you see as areas of opportunity from a supply chain or a bigger value chain perspective that people should be thinking about when it comes to sustainability and maybe even energy as well?
Well, I think we've talked about energy a lot today, and I have a lot to say, but maybe let me bring in two other sort of themes that I think are very timely right now. One is sustainable agriculture. I think there's just enormous possibilities here. It's a great space for exits. Growers are actually early adopters. If they see that something works, they will try it out, and within the second or third year, they'll take it across their entire acreage. So you can actually have products adopted quickly. And like I said, there's a history of good exits in the space. So I think there's a great potential there, either on the hard science side of things with chemistry and biotechnology, but also on the soft side of things in terms of precision agriculture. And then the other thing is the built environment, which is the largest emitter of CO2 in the world. So both building materials and also in terms of efficiency, energy management. We've mentioned air conditioning in the call today. That's up to 30% of the energy consumption of a building, depending on where in the world you are. There's enormous possibilities there. Again, both on the hard science side of things and with software plays. I think venture can make a huge impact in these two very, very big industries.
Thank you. And then Tolga, I see that you've already unmiked, so mic is yours. Opportunities, what are you seeing?
I actually wanted to also add to my words regarding talking about how service-based businesses or product-based businesses can be successful, hybrid model can be successful. I want to talk about Loop's actually I want to talk about Loop's product offering. For example, when we are installing EV chargers to commercial real estate or residential buildings, the good thing about our product is these property owners can actually start generating revenue in day one. And they can install our chargers, and as soon as people start charging, they're not only going to attract more customers, but also when people start charging their cars, they are going to get a certain fee, like a % of that amount. So it's like literally installing a traditional gas station into your property, and you start generating money out of it. So not only we are selling a product that is changing the world and transitioning the world into sustainable energy, but we're also offering an opportunity to every business owner to generate income out of energy. So I think this is a huge evolution. This is a huge change, because right now, like in my building, in my apartment building, traditionally all the gas cars, I mean, they park their cars and they go to a gas station to, fill their tanks. That's just how it is. But right now, this whole mentality is going to change, and it's going to be like, wherever you go, that business is cool if they're offering EV charging. So this is actually how things are going to change. And yeah, I mean, for now, like, I think I just wanted to add this to my words. I have also like other opinions about other stuff, but yeah, I will get to that.
All right, good. Thank you. And Swati, I want to come back to you around areas of opportunity that you and your funds are looking at, again, for the year and a half ahead. You mentioned water is, again, a big opportunity that most people don't even think about. We take it for granted in most cases, but it's a huge area that should be focused on. Feel free to comment further on that, but then also other areas that you're seeing as an investor that you're looking towards.
Yeah, absolutely. So on the waterfront, waterfront, we have actually had companies raise financing from PropelX, and Newton Fund has also invested. One of them, for example, is using DNA. So one of the key challenges in industrial water treatment is how to get a high quality filtering, a high quality filter, or a very small filter. And so one of them is using DNA as the it's a nanopore filter. So they're basically using it to filter water. They're using molds out of DNA and filtering water. So that is one example of high quality water filtration using low costs, right? And so that is a company that's growing. And there's others on the food side. So I agree, precision agriculture is something that we've had lots of, we've looked at lots of. I haven't seen as many in the last, I would say there's, around IoT and again, irrigation. So that again is related to water. So IoT and irrigation, we've seen quite a few of. We've seen alternatives to food itself, right? So like beyond meats. So there's others that are coming up now. So it's really across the board. Transportation, we've seen more companies coming up with different kind of transportation modes, believe it or not. So, bikes, for example, electric bikes, among others. So that is an underused mode of transportation. It does take much less energy. We just have to make them a lot safer. So can we make much safer electric bikes? So that's coming up. So across the board, I do think there's a lot of opportunity in this whole idea of sustainability, right? And better use of our resources. So those are some examples across the board.
I love it. And sustainability, specifically about renewable usage of our materials. We talked a little bit about this yesterday here on VCTV, and the idea of creating a more circular value chain in many ways with things that we do. And it's a little buzzwordy. I'll admit that. I'm the one that's saying it, so I'll take the heat for that. But it's very true.
I fully buy into that. Reduce, reuse, recycle. That's the mantra for sustainability. And we have to find ways to address each of them. So energy efficiency is on the side of reduce, right? Then there's the reuse and the recycle, which means we do need to find better ways. So we have, for example, we had a company that creates compostable knives and forks and spoons and so on, right? Now that has been a thing for a while, but to be able to do it in your backyard, now that becomes interesting, right? Similarly, on the recycle, we've had robots that recycle things or that are able to. So one of the key challenges right now, I mean, this is a technology challenge, is how does a robot figure out which bin to put things in? So this is right now, how does it recognize trash from recycle and how does it sort it? So, but the sorting idea, we've had companies that are addressing this. So it really is across the board on the reduce, reuse, recycle, this idea of circularity that you talked about.
Yeah, and it's funny because it's something we're taught very early in our youth. is that that cycle. And here we are now in our later years of life. We'll just say that, and we're still talking about it. And in some cases, we don't practice it. And I don't mean just us as individuals, but also from a corporate standpoint as well. I mean, Keith has talked about this from a number of different conversations around the supply chain and the idea of circular value chains, specifically around supply chains. And Swati, you're bringing up a great point. I mean, from a robotic standpoint, understanding sorting, we're still training those models today, and hopefully someone is listening that has that solved, and we'll see that enter our world, here in the next 6 to 12 months. And we'll talk about how great they are, and won't have to talk about it again as an opportunity. So excited to see that as well. And Efron, I want to come to you next on this. I mean, areas of opportunity, you've talked about many, but also where are you seeing the biggest opportunities here in the next 12 to 18?
Thank you, Kyle. And this is a fascinating panel. I think we touched a lot of important aspect of it, and I think Swati just mentioned something very interesting, which is the compostable, right? So recycling energy. And whenever Luis is talking about Brazil, I remember this high school chemistry book that got me very interested. There used to be a picture of an innovation that was happening in Brazil back then, which is biofuel, right? Like ethanol-based, fuel, which was very interesting. It was sort of like an outside the box, but it was an innovation that fit, the need of Brazil at that point. So again, for me personally, as I say, I'm very much vested in, on the technology aspect of this, as I mentioned, nuclear technology. Also, I'm very much vested in specifically in the carbon decay energy process, right? I mean, it has been a topic that we have been all looking into, and this is what I find very interesting. But there is another thing that I do want to mention is that, the energy industry is a very opaque industry, and it's very important that we know this, and because there's plenty of things, of course, energy storage, I'm not going to mention any of these funds, because, they do come to me for diligence from time to time. And sometimes, the guy who's calling the shots at times, to stop certain deals to happen, not a great thing for innovation, but I'm telling you because, energy storage is a buzzword, right? The biggest venture firms out there, fund of funds, whoever you want to call it, they're high on this word. Whenever they see these kind of companies, coming across, a lot of things are happening there. And the other thing is that I do not think innovation can come from the incumbents. It cannot happen. I don't see certain large publicly listed company, which is also a fossil fuel company, harnessing the next, green energy invention. No way. This is a very hard industry. We need hard entrepreneurs to come into this field. We're still looking for that champion. The way I think as investor, we have a role over here. This is a big puzzle. This is not like, back in, this is not a very small puzzle. The way I see, in the coming days, there are a lot of small pieces in this puzzle to be solved. But I think I do see a potentially a winning, a few winning companies coming out in this space. And what would be is also to do with collaboration. So one innovation has to merge with another, some key acquisition is going to happen. And that way I would see, potentially this sector really, really booming up. So again, I encourage, entrepreneurs to come in, I also encourage investors to be patient. This is a long haul game. This is not, something that you come in, you exit in 10 years or 8 years. This is a long play. So and I think the reward definitely is worth it, but also it's very important because we get to save our planet, right? I mean, I'm a father now. I mean, more than motivated to have a sustainable future for our next generation. And it can only start now, and it has to start with our thinking process as well as how we approach the problem. So that's pretty much from me. But again, thank you so much. And again, a great panel.
Thank you very much, Efron. Luis, any closing thoughts as we're coming to the top of the hour? Anything you want to throw out as an opportunity, but closing thoughts, and where can you be found online for those looking to continue the conversation, not only with you, but also about your new fund?
Sure. First, closing thoughts. As I mentioned, I really believe there's a lot of opportunity for us. I really don't like to use, but there's the low hanging fruit. I don't like it, but I just can't find a better way to express myself. But there's the low hanging fruit that is energy efficiency. So use better our energy. We were talking to an entrepreneur that he provides a service. He will analyze your home and provide you with suggestions and solutions, so you can be 100% sustainable. Just generate 100% of your energy. So this is something that is, I believe, we got to do before moving towards discussing huge generation projects. So this is efficiency, distributed generation, and the intermittency is a little harder. But I believe there is still a long way for us to find the optimal solution. So we got to start now this discussion, including storage, including hydrogen, and any kind of solution that we can just try to reduce the impact of intermittent sources of energy. So these are the opportunities. You can find me on LinkedIn, Luis Freitas. Our fund, it's named Kaia Partners. Kaia. It's from the earth. It's Greek for from the earth, from pure. You can find us also on LinkedIn, and soon we'll be talking with more and more entrepreneurs and more people on the space. And because again, this is a topic I love. So thank you for the time. Thank you for the opportunity to be here.
Thank you, Luis. Keith, where can everyone find you online to continue the conversation?
Right, you can find me on LinkedIn and also follow me on Twitter at Keith A. Gillard. My firm is upperstage.ventures, that's the website, or you can look up foresightcac.com.
Wonderful, thank you. Tolga, where can everyone find you and Loop to continue the conversation?
Thank you, Kyle. Everybody can find me from my website, tolgaonuk.com, and through my LinkedIn, Tolga Onuk. And our new website is going to be published in the next week or so. So we're super excited about Loop. Yeah, the website is evloop.io. And yeah, we are going to make an announcement soon. Yeah.
Wonderful. Efron, where can everyone find you to continue the conversation?
Thanks again. And thank you to the panelists and the audience for tuning in. You can reach me through Twitter at Semper Irfan, or through LinkedIn as Sheikh Mohammed Irfan. And again, if you have any specific questions, anything, regardless, because I'm vested in this industry for a long time, any questions that you have, even access to a specific research, I'll be more than happy to provide that. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. Swati, close us out. Where can everyone find you online to continue the conversation?
Yeah, sure. Please follow me or connect with me on LinkedIn, Swati Chaturvedi on LinkedIn, and definitely follow me on Twitter, because I am fairly active on Twitter, and that's Swati_PropelX, PROPELX. Find us online, propelx.com, PROPELX.com, or newtonfund.vc.
Wonderful. Luis, Swati, Keith, Efron, Tolga, thank you all very much for sharing your thoughts and insights on today's topic around energy and sustainability. A lot more to share and a lot more to discuss around these two topics, and we'll be bringing all of you back here on VCTV to share more soon. To your audience, thank you so much for tuning in. If you like what you heard, make sure you click that subscribe button, share, give us a thumbs up, check out the archive to hear not just more about all of our topics and from all of our speakers today, but from all speakers in the VCTV family from around the world. Also, if you'd like to be on a show like today as an investor or as an entrepreneur, do reach out to the team and or myself, and we'll find that right spot for you. Speaking of the team, a big thank you to the LATOKEN team and to Maria for making VCTV possible every single day. I'm your host, Kyle Ellicott. You can find me everywhere online at Kyle Ellicott, along with all of our guests and all of their amazing new funds and companies on all social media platforms. And do make sure to add context when you reach out, follow, or want to continue the conversation, so we know where you heard us, what you want to talk about so we can be the most efficient together as we can be. With that, we'll be back here after a short little break.